All right, time to take it to the round table. Our locally sourced experts who look at the week's top stories and give us good analysis and opinion, and we have got a great group with us this morning.
We do. Sean Foreman is professor of political science at Broward University in Miami Shores. So glad to welcome him back to the round table, and welcome back also to H.T. Smith, professor of law at Florida International University and a prominent Miami attorney. And Rosemary O'Hara back with us. She is the editorial page editor of the Sun Sentinel, one of our go-to roundtablers every week. Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Whew, where do we start?
Well, I know where I want to start with Professor Sean Foreman, Broward University, a beautiful campus in Miami Shores, and not exactly a place where you would think of a mass shooting, although these things tragically can occur anywhere. But how would you feel, Sean, about enabling students, faculty, or anyone to come on your campus with a gun?
Personally, I would feel uneasy about it. And let me say, unlike the president of NOVA, I'm speaking here as an individual, not as a representative of Broward University's policy on guns on campus. But no, the idea of having a free speech zone on campus is fundamental. And the fact that we can engage in debate and dialogue and disagree and go home to our families at the end of the night is what we expect. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder or worried about protecting myself or my students from somebody who may take it a little too far, pull out their gun, and you never know what's going to happen next.
H.T. Smith, you know, I always think about this whenever I hear this polarizing gun debate. Why is this a Second Amendment issue? Why can't we be protected by the Second Amendment as it stands, yet still enact provisions to keep people safe?
Well, one reason is because of the strength of the gun lobby, and because people who support common sense legislation for guns usually wind up on the losing end of political races. So first of all, we got to balance the money. We've got to show that you can do that and still prevail. But I'm a veteran of the Vietnam War. I am a person who has guns. I brought today my concealed carry permit. I'm a professor. I would not want to see anyone other than trained law enforcement officers with guns on campus. This is a solution that's looking for a problem. Most people don't know, as much as we've been hearing lately about shootings on campus, there's one shooting on a college campus per 1 million people. There are 57 shootings per 1 million people in the general population. Yeah. And so I think we need to stay away from guns in our schools.
Rosemary, if you haven't already, you will at some point editorialize, the Sun Sentinel will, on the campus carry bill and the open carry bill. And the open carry bill already rushed through committee in Tallahassee, and it looks like it's got a very good chance of passing. Where do you think you stand on this?
We're in the same place we've been for the last several years, and that is like all presidents of state universities, like all the police chiefs of state universities, like 73% of Floridians, according to the latest Sunshine State survey, against the idea of allowing guns on campus. And yet, despite where the public stands, a group of lawmakers every year relentlessly go back and try to get guns on campus. The president of Florida State, where we saw John Thrasher. Thank God for John Thrasher. Yeah. You know, his dentist's daughter was shot on campus and several years ago at a frat party, and so he has stood in the way. So let's hope that once again, he can keep this back, but every year it's like a trickle. They just keep coming back.
And let's point out that John Thrasher, who is from the Jacksonville area, was the Florida Senate president. He was a leader in the legislature, and he is a political conservative. So this isn't some wild liberal who is standing up and saying, oh, we don't want guns on campus. A very conservative politician.
Exactly, and the gun lobby thought, well, once he went to become president of Florida State and left the Senate, they would have a better chance. So here they are again.
But there's a problem, a flaw with the law, and that is that it allows for civil liability for anyone who they say infringes upon the right for open carry. That's directed toward police and law enforcement, and it says there's no immunity. You're going to have some tremendous pushback from law enforcement as long as that's
I
in
mean,
the
I think
legislation.
the bill calls for fines of up to $100,000 for a police officer. I mean, they're supposed to operate under sovereign immunity. How can you, attach this kind of liability to a policeman?
Yeah, so I think there's still a chance that this will be stopped somewhere in line. Let's hope that's the case.
We haven't even begun to talk about the Stand Your Ground bill that's also about to be launched, where it would change the onus of proving a stand your ground defense case to the person claiming it, from the person claiming it to prosecutors. And if you combine all of these bills together, I mean, what is that going to do to the safety in this state, in public places?
It definitely will make it less safe. You take stand your ground and put it with open carry and add that to people with guns in college campuses. You reach for your keys. I thought he was going for his gun. And somebody is shot. Then you have the stand your ground where there's both criminal and civil immunity for that kind of action. This is bad for the Sunshine State.
All right, if we can, I want to kind of shift our focus here and want to look at the new Quinnipiac University poll that came out this week. And Rosemary, anybody who thought it was just a summer romance with Donald Trump, and I confess, I thought it was.
I thought you were going to confess a summer romance. Scared me.
Well, I could do that privately as well. I'm very happy about it. But no, I mean, seriously, in August, Donald Trump had 21% in the Q poll. Now he's got 28%. So this is not just some flash in the pan.
That's right. No, this presidential season is unpredictable, and clearly the anti-establishment candidates are the ones who the Republican base is standing behind. That Donald Trump has 28% and Marco has 14 and Jeb 12 with Ben Carson there in the middle.
16%.
In his home state, in Marco and Jeb's home state. And the danger here is that Florida, when we have our primary, it's a winner take all. So there's a real chance Donald Trump could score all of our delegates.
Yeah. Well, what's fascinating is that Trump is going up in Florida when he's not campaigning here. He hasn't been here. He's not running ads. So this is all off of earned media from the national TV appearances. And it really does look poorly for Rubio and Bush because they can't get traction nationally and they can't in Florida just yet. But a lot of pieces have to fall into place, as was noted, before we get to Florida's winner take all. But now we see we can't totally discount Donald Trump. He has organization in Iowa. He may compete, he may finish in the top 3, and then, from there,
move on to New Hampshire and South Carolina, and March 15th is the Florida primary.
It was real quick before we go, the two top contenders, Donald Trump on one side, Hillary Clinton. All the men go for Donald Trump, all the women go for Hillary Clinton, and all I could think of is Trump is from Mars, Hillary's from Venus. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
Right.
Welcome back. In the midst of a roundtable, as long as we're on election discussion, there was a letter launched from Florida Rep. Dave Jolly promoting former Florida House Speaker Webster for the speakership in the disarray in D.C. And Sean, the political professor among us, what I found really interesting about that is Dan Webster may well lose his seat in redistricting that's going on right now. Wow, mess upon mess upon mess.
It is. And, for the Republican conference, they can see that this is democracy in action, trying to wrestle out their civil war between moderates and conservatives and choosing the next speaker. Kevin McCarthy, it's easy now in hindsight to look back, but he wasn't a very good speaker and doesn't seem to have a very strong following amongst either moderates or conservatives, so they threw him under the bus. And Dan Webster, who, as you noted, may not win his re-election, may come out as a consensus speaker candidate. He's got the Freedom Caucus behind him, 40-plus people there. But what I think is interesting is Dan Webster's approach. He says he wants to flatten the power structure. The House of Representatives is a very top-down, hierarchical organization. And if he can prove this amongst all the egos on the House, he may have a shot of becoming the Speaker.
And how ironic that Paul Ryan, Representative Paul Ryan, who is a brainy guy, I met him when he was running and was on the vice presidential candidate, could not have been nicer and smart and quick. And he doesn't want the job.
Yeah,
because he's the chairman of House Ways and Means, I believe. I mean, he's got an important job.
Right.
House Speaker? No.
Yeah, it doesn't. If you have future political ambitions, that is not a good job. I would say about Dan Webster, I think he's still a long shot. But when he was Senate President in Florida, he was a gentleman. People, while very conservative, people who worked with him felt that he allowed them to speak. He did let them, members, bring up legislation. I don't think he stands a chance, in part because of his election, but as an unknown, he might not be such a bad choice.
But it doesn't matter who becomes the next speaker. You have the Freedom Caucus that does not want to concede anything, that does not want to negotiate, does not believe that compromise has any positive value in the legislative process. That is a job that is destined for failure. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, people will take conflict and controversy. The people will not take chaos, and that's what we have right now. The Republican Party is on a treadmill to oblivion.
And I would say part of Donald Trump's appeal is this kind of conflict and chaos. People are saying they can't make it work. Maybe he can make it work. We don't know that. If we could, just a moment on redistricting, because the judge in Tallahassee this week, Terry Lewis, accepted the plaintiff's maps. And HT, I found this pretty fascinating, a big win for the Democrats, honestly, a loss for the Republicans in the legislature. And one of the districts that, one district that won't change will be Alcee Hastings. Apparently Alcee is safe. Another one is going to be Frederica Wilson. So you have two predominantly African-American districts and congressmen who are safe. But Carlos Curbelo, it looks like Carlos Curbelo in the 26th district down in southwest Miami-Dade, I think he's in trouble.
Well, I think, first of all, the people of Florida are the winners. We're talking about redistricting that's closer to doing it not based upon partisanship and not based upon incumbency. That is a step in the right direction. What about the district that has the two Congress people
living in the same district, Lois Frankel and Ted Deutsch?
Right. That's going to be a real problem. Right. This is going to be very interesting.
How do you solve that?
Well, you don't. When you're in Congress, you don't have to live in the district that you represent. Right. So I suspect that Lois will run in the Broward district, and she's done a good job. She's got the support of the business and civic community, but there's always the flank of, you don't live here, why should you represent us? So it's an interesting race to watch.
Real quickly, very interesting lawsuit filed in Broward County by the cabbies this week. They against the Broward County's avenue now for the Uber and Lyft and transportation network people, the ride sharing. And what was really interesting about this lawsuit is it's a constitutional lawsuit. The cabbies are saying they're claiming their property rights and equal protection have been violated because they have certificates that are no longer keeping out the competition.
And they're saying those certificates on the secondary market are valued at about $150,000. And if you're going to let other people come in and be unregulated and have to pay nothing, well, then their certificates have no value or have very little value. Right. I don't know about $150 million, but I'm sure it's got the attention of Broward County.
And that is the same controversy in Miami-Dade County, where the medallions, as they are called, which are the licenses the cabbies must have. I mean, some of these Haitian-American cabbies, you put their life savings into it, and now their medallions are devalued. Well, I'm afraid.
The rules of the road have changed, and it's a pivot point. The fight now goes to Tallahassee. Broward rolled over, Dade's rolling over, Palm Beach is rolling over.
To public opinion.
Tallahassee,
to public opinion.
Watch the lawsuit in Tampa.
Good point on which to end. All right, thank you all. Great round table. When we return, we are going to be talking with one of the week's biggest newsmakers, Dr. Ben Carson, a one-on-one interview coming up.